Welcome back. This is lesson 2 in this section of the training, worksheet, pictures, and comment options. Still on the training, how to get started with Excel. In this lesson, we'll be looking at copy and move worksheets, how you can copy and move worksheets. I am Amaka Ifeibunando, your instructor. To copy and move worksheets, you can use two methods to go about it. The first method is to right-click on the active sheet and select the copy or move option. And the second option is to go to your home tab under the cell selection, and there's an option when you click on the drop down arrow on the format button. For the purpose of this training, we'll be using the first option to copy the worksheet. Then we'll use the second option, which is the option on the clip Excel ribbon, to move a worksheet. To copy a worksheet, ensure that the sheet you want to copy is active. Then you right-click on the Sheet tab. Select Move or Copy. Good. Now we have the Move or Copy dialog box up. We have the option of moving it to the active workbook, or when you click on the drop-down arrow, you move it to another workbook, an existing workbook, but ensure that that existing workbook is active. That means it is open before you carry out this action, or you move it to a new workbook. Right. Now, I want to copy, and the copy aspect of those two options, I would like to copy to the existing workbook. So I will select the existing workbook. I want to still copy it into the existing workbook, and I want to copy it to the end of the sheet. You can copy it before and just say before sheet. If you want to copy it before any of the sheets, you just select the sheet you want to copy it before. But I want to copy it to I want to select move to the end of the sheet, so I'll select this option. Now, because you want to create a copy, you have to check this box, create a copy, because we have the copy and move option. This dialog box applies to both copy and move. So the copy aspect, Excel understands it when you check this box. So it knows that you want to create a copy, meaning that the original copy will still be at its position, and a copy of the original will be created in another position. Right. So I'm copying to this active workbook, and I'm moving it to the end of the worksheet. That is, you'll be seeing it after example 3 worksheet. Right. So I'll say okay. Good. Now you can see the new copied worksheet. The name is lesson 2. Remember, in the first lesson, I stated that every worksheet needs to have a unique name. So it copies this lesson 2, give it a unique name by putting 2 in bracket beside it to differentiate it from the copied worksheet. Right. So you see that the content in these 2 sheets are exactly the same. This is a copy of lesson 2. So showing that it's lesson 2, but we're giving it a unique name by putting these 2, because no 2 worksheets that is on the same workbook is supposed to have the same name. Every worksheet needs to have a unique name, right? So that's how you copy a worksheet. Now, how do you move a worksheet? I'll move this worksheet we just copied, the lesson 2 in bracket 2. I'll move it now, but I'll be moving it to a new workbook, not the existing workbook. So I'll be moving it from this position it is, and I'll be moving it to a new workbook. So to do that, you select the worksheet, ensure it is active, go to your home tab. We'll be working with the second method. Under the cell selection, cells section of the home tab, you click on the format button, the drop down arrow, then you select move or copy sheet. The same dialog box will still pop up. So whichever one that is more efficient for you, you can right click and select. It still pops up the same dialog box because it's still the move or copy option. Right. Now, to move this worksheet, I want to move it to a new workbook. So to which workbook? You say move selected sheet to which book. So I'll select the drop down arrow beside. As I stated earlier, if you want to move it to an existing workbook, ensure that that workbook is open, is active. Right. So I'm moving it to a new workbook. I'll select new workbook. Right. So because I am moving it, I won't check this. I'm not creating a copy, meaning that this workbook I am moving, this worksheet I am moving won't be here again. It will be moved from this particular workbook to a new workbook. So you'll be seeing the effect as I click OK. Good. Now we have a new workbook, book one, and you see the name exactly. Now, if you go to the previous workbook, sorry, let's just move to the previous workbook. I have three workbooks. So if you go to this workbook, you see we have a new workbook here. Let's go to the other workbook. So you see that we have our the last worksheet here is example 3. And before we move, after example 3, we have the copied worksheet, which is lesson 2 in bracket 2, is no longer here. You can see it's no longer here. Our example 3 worksheet is quite empty, right? So this is our lesson 2, the original. We created a copy, moved it to the end, and we now moved the one we copied to a new workbook. That's why you see it's no longer existing on this workbook, but it's existing on the new workbook we created, because I have 3 workbook open. So you see the new workbook. A new workbook is created, book 1, and you can see the worksheet we moved from our previous workbook to this workbook, right? So this is how you go about copying a worksheet and moving a worksheet. So this brings us to the end of this section, this lesson. See you in the next lesson.